every time you're going to do a Sure Bond or a Sure Stamp, you're always going to use Sure Bond in conjunction with it. So if you were going out here to this slab out here, you mix this. Now this is good for about 1,000 square feet. You just mix it wet enough that you can take it and dump it out of a bucket and move it around with a broom, a magic trowel, whatever you want to do. When you do the SureStamp, this still needs to be wet. So you don't want to put this out, let this dry, and then put the SureStamp over. This needs to be still damp. Okay? But we don't need to do it on the bucket back there or on the plywood back there. We're not going to use the Sure Bond. But always on a slab, something you're bringing back, you're always going to use the Sure Bond with it. Now my suggestion is, if you're using the SureStamp, you're probably going to color it, just with the colored packs, okay? If you're coloring that, my suggestion is color this as well, because this is going to go out white, so if this would bleed through the edge or something, you don't want that white coming up. So the color packs are really, the true color, the color packs, what, $5 a piece? $6?
$3.80.
Yeah, so it's just cheap to be able to go ahead and, you know, color that, and then you don't have to worry about that white showing through at any spot, because it's already colored. So yeah, that would be my suggestion to do that. Now, you want your SureStamp to go out so that your deepest part of your stamp has still got SureStamp underneath of it. So if you put it out at 3/8 and your shoulder on your stamp was 3/8 and that shoulder can go down to the concrete, you have no SureStamp at the bottom, you're going to have issues. So if your shoulder on your stamp was 3/8, you need to put this out at 1/2 inch so that there's still SureStamp at the bottom part of that. If you're doing a skin stamp, like a slate or something like that, you could go out as thin as 1/4 inch, 1/4 to 3/8, somewhere around there. Now the best way to do this is use a gauge rake. You guys know what a gauge rake is? Ever use a gauge rake? Okay, a gauge rake is essentially, it's a piece of steel that goes out and it's got two little legs that stick down. So as you're raking it, you know it's all going to be at 1/4 inch or 3/8. It's all going to be that thickness.
I do that about with screws.
Yeah.
With the screws and I
Same,
pull it out.
yeah, exactly. It's really the same thing. The gauge rakes are nice because they're designed for it. And when you do the gauge rake in it, you're going to come back over it, you're going to trowel the top of it so that all those tracks are hidden. Okay? The other thing, when you do the SureStamp, I would use always in conjunction with the SureStamp, I would use the, I just lost the name I'm looking for. To make it smooth. Surface delay. I would use the surface delay. Okay, because you want that surface to be as smooth as possible so that when you put your stamp in it, it's going to reflect back exactly what that stamp is. If your surface is still rough, you're going to have a rough looking surface even with the stamp. So you want that surface when you're finished out to be pretty smooth, right to start with. And the surface delay helps you to accomplish that. Whereas water doesn't necessarily do it like the surface delay does.
If you have a liquid release, basically liquid release can help as well.
Liquid release is going to help as well, yep. And what we're going to use back here is a water-based liquid release. So what we do is after we get this down, we'll let it set. When we get to the point where when we push it with our finger and it doesn't stick to our finger and it gives us some type of pressure back, that's when it's stampable. So then we'll spray the liquid release on the concrete itself, then spray it on the stamp, and then go ahead and stamp from there. Okay? So we're going to start off with about 4 quarts of water per bag, see what it does. Yep. Remember, always mix your color first. got a large job, you're probably gonna do this in a cement mixer, right? Or you're gonna do it in a mortar mixer, I should say. Mortar mixer is always better for these kind of things, but that way you can do multiple bags at a time to be able to put it on, instead of just one bag at a time. You gonna add powder or mix? Okay, you mix. Okay, now I need some help. So you see it builds up very nicely, so it'll hold its shape right up to the edge. So if you're doing a driveway where there's an edge to the driveway, instead of falling off the edge, you don't need to form it. It'll actually come up right to that edge and it'll stay there. It won't drop off to the side. And it resists. It's not going to come off on your finger, and it's going to resist you a little bit. If it's too wet like it is now, if you tried to stamp it, it's just going to pick up into the stamp and you won't get any kind of relief.
Kind of finished.
Yeah. So now, if you're doing this on a driveway and it's a sunny day, you might put out maybe 8-10 feet on a sunny day. By the time you're 10 feet down, you may be able to get back on it and start stamping. So this is one of those things where you got a guy mixing, a guy that's out there doing the, he's floating it, he's using the gauge rake to float it out. He might be the same guy that's also coming over with the trowel or the steel to make it flat. And as he's moving out, you may have another guy starting to stamp. So it depends on the heat, depends on the weather of how much time you have. The whole key is what you're trying to do when you're doing it on a driveway. You want to kind of give it the same amount of time to cure throughout the driveway so the stamp looks consistent as you're going. So if you did, say you started and it was starting to get hard up there and you went to stamp, and by the time you got down a little bit, it's even harder down here. It's harder to get the true stamp look throughout the driveway.
Better to remove.
Yeah, you can still do it, but now you're going to have to probably get a stamping
Push a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea with stamping is to use as little as tools as possible. Use your feet. That's the best way to use stamping. So your timing is consistent throughout your job. And then you got no issues. But I've got guys down in Florida that with like a 5-man crew, they'll stamp a 20 by 40 driveway in a morning. They'll have it all out and stamped and ready to go in a morning. So as long as they're moving through it, start up and they move through it, there's no problem.
Coordinate in the job.
Yep. Yep. Stamping is usually going to be a minimum, and this would be a really small job, a minimum of 3 guys. Because you got to continue, like I said, just continually move through it. You're going to set up a station to mix, you're going to set up a station where your stamps are, you're going to get everything ready ahead of time before you get going. Now, Oleg's stamps are nice because he doesn't have to have 4,000 stamps to do a job. His stamps are very easy the way they're all put together. I like his system a lot compared to some of the other systems out there. You put one stamp down wrong, the whole job is messed up. Because they have to go down in a certain order. Where Oleg's got it, how they go down is very simple.
Like a puzzle.
Yeah. And some stamps are puzzles that I just don't get. You know, no matter how many times I look at it. So I'll take my stamps when I'm doing that. I'll number the back.
I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, what he's talking about. Basically, that stamp. So no matter how you're going to put this stamp, everything's going to match.
Yeah, too much the...
Whatever, doesn't matter what size you're going to make it, so everything's going to match. If you're going to take the square one, it's gonna match. So no matter what you do, so whatever, you don't have to think, you don't have to see what you just whatever you take, whatever you flip, everything's gonna match. This one you're gonna match here, gonna match here, gonna match here. So no matter
For the
what you
same
do,
joint consistent.
yeah, no matter what you do, everything's gonna match. So you don't have to think, you're just working.
The other nice thing about Oleg stamps, if you look at how wide this piece is right here, most other stamps, when they come together, they're nowhere near the closeness of what that one is. Oleg stamps, if you look at the way these two are, this is the same width as this. So it looks very consistent throughout your stamping job. They're really, really nice stamps.
Yeah, the good part, no matter what you use, it's gonna be fitting in the whole.
It's gonna, it's gonna be
fitting.
fitting. Yeah, and it's gonna look
It's
like,
gonna be
you're not
much-
gonna look like this was a,
Yeah.
it won't look
Crooked
like this
or-
was a joint.
Yeah.
Where a lot of the other stamps out there, wherever there's a joint, it looks like there was a joint. But that's what people are used to, so they get away with it, but this is a much nicer system to be able to stamp with.
And I can guarantee texture. The texture is gonna look natural, I guarantee it.
Yeah,
Not gonna look plastic.
yeah, and so many of
Like,
the other ones do look
We,
plastic.
in marble, we call a clip face.
Yeah, yeah,
Clip face.
yeah.
The finish of this is a clip face.
Yeah.
It's a lot
Puzzle. It's a puzzle.
Yes, it's puzzle, yeah. No, the surface, this surface.
Yeah. Oh, the
We
surface.
call clips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of slate, like that.
Yeah, yeah. So he's got a lot of nice pieces there that go well together.
The good part is not for one job, it's for many.
Yeah, you can use it forever. So
Yeah.
basically those molds, I don't know, that usually for the stamp molds, lifetime warranty. So very hard to damage it. You can, but it's a very strong tool. Whatever you do, you can throw it, you can kick it, you can do it also. I don't know what to do to break it.
It's a water-based release agent. The one that we sell is not a water-based. Oleg was gonna find out whether this needed to be cleaned off before you actually sealed it. With our release agent, it's the old-fashioned bubble gum release agent. It smells like bubble gum. It's a petroleum-based release agent. So you need to clean it off with the SCR. Just real quick, SCR, and probably 5 or 6 to 1 on the SCR. Then you clean it, then you're good to go. Just spray it off with water and then you're ready for your next step. But what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the release agent and you're actually gonna get this, the release agent on this. And then you also spray your stamps.
Yeah, it's a water base. It's a water base. It has to be sealed. It has to be sealed before that. So you can actually cover. So you're gonna have to make a partial. You're gonna make one part, seal it, and then go to another part.
And then you just start your stamp.
Ты снимешь или перекинешь, потому что у меня уже места нет.
This is probably soft enough.
Снимешь несколько
I'm
раз.
sure. So once you get a pattern going, you'll see which way the pattern goes, and you just keep following that pattern. And usually you'll step off of one, take it, put it behind you.
You just keep calibrating one to the one.
Exactly. Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, the nice thing about Oleg stamps is they all fit together.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about having it exact going through it.
Yeah, but we need to put the one more. You want to get one more?
Be able to stamp, to use the stamp 2 or 3 times, and then you need to go back and put more release agent on it. So it's not like it's a one-time deal, because the release agent actually comes off onto the surface. There we go. this one here can go like this.
You guys should have a special soundtrack like flamenco for this. If it's fresh, you put the skinny gun on it, and if it's too dry, you get bigger and bigger.
Get the bigger guy, yeah, and that's where the tamp comes in handy if it starts getting too dry.
Be dangerous to be too ambitious about how much area you do at once, I guess.
So in that case, much better to have more than 6 molds just to put it together, make a line, and then just go on.
How much is the mold?
The material itself is kind of damp, so I can see how I'm actually can make tracks with it. So normally what you do is you get the roller that's a little bit smaller, and as you go over it, you're almost at the point where you can walk on it at that point, and use the roller to knock all those little edges off.
You can